We're an 8-figure revenue company right now. The problem is most people want only a functional team. They do not want to address the dysfunctions. Then they become dysfunctional. Oh, that was very...
Welcome to Unfair Advantage Show, where leaders reveal the edge behind great companies and career. Today, we're going to talk about a book that recently our partner here at Move, Jason, introduced to the whole HQ team. And at first, I was like, oh, another leadership book. But then, when he was starting to talk about how this book had, really let him have a different perspective towards our HQ team culture, right? More specifically, not the entire Move team culture, but it was more towards the 10 of us, right, within HQ. And he got us to rate each other, or actually rate the whole HQ team. And it was interesting to see that, wow, we had gaps in our team. So, David was rating some of it very, very low. And perhaps later on, David can share with us what you rated low. But before we get into that, David, give us a context of what this book is about.
Okay, so the book is titled The Five Dysfunctions of a Team. And I feel like to date, I've read a lot of books. It's still one of the most accurate maps of why teams break down, right? And it's very interesting because it comes in a pyramid. So at the bottom of the pyramid, which is the foundation of the pyramid, there are 5 things that they talk about, right? 5 dysfunctions. At the bottom, which is the largest foundation, is trust, and then conflict, and then you got commitment, accountability, and results. So these are the 5 things that the book really, really draws into. And it's very interesting. I finished the book in less than a day because the way it was written, it was written in a story format. They actually have a comic format as well. So if you comment comic, can send it to you. So they actually created a manga out of it as well. For those people who don't like to read too dry, there's visuals with words. So this book is actually written by this guy called Patrick Lencioni. Let's call him Lencioni. He talks about these 5 layers. So the first layer is trust, the foundation, right? He doesn't talk about competence trust. It's not like, CJ, I trust that you can do this well. It's more about vulnerability trust. So which is very interesting because in a company, we always feel like, I trust this guy because this guy shows results. This guy always shows up on time, very reliable guy. But what Lencioni talks about here is more of a vulnerability trust, which is, can your people admit mistakes? Can they ask for help? Can they actually say, hey, I got this wrong? So very interesting. So the trust he talks about in layer 1 is vulnerability trust. If within your team or within your setting or your company, you're not able to have a safe space to tell people, hey, I think I screwed up, right? Don't fire me, right? So he talks about that.
I think if you look back, in your organization in the last 1 month, okay, just review all the conversation you had and all the ups and downs. Whenever there were mistakes being, done by someone, were they confident enough to say, hey, look, I screwed up, so sorry about that. Really, I would own this and I would do something about it. If there was no such conversation, if no one admitted their mistake, and maybe it's really time to really think about, is it a trusting team that you have currently within your organization? It might look like trust on a Friday when you bring pizza and potluck together, right? Where everyone don't talk bad about each other, but then having the vulnerability having the vulnerability to just say, I really screw up. I'm so sorry. How can I be better? Maybe, next time I will just bond with you I'll check with you. I'll, get your inputs and insights, right? So anything that you have observed in the past within our Move HQ or Move in general?
After reading this book, what we realized was we had a lot of trust when it comes to our own teams because we're all heads of our own departments. But then we did not build that trust on the HQ level. So it was very interesting that we have this book to read, and now we have the foresight to, okay, what can we do? What can we amend? So I think the most important thing is really to just identify what happened. And so what we're doing now, like we have management house that are crossing over with education house, they're working together very well, our marketing house, HR, people in culture house, they're all actually being vulnerable with each other. Understanding that, hey, if I can be vulnerable means it's a safe space, and we're slowly building a culture from top. At the bottom, people are quite open, right? It's not perfect, right? We are not trying to make it perfect, but we do have gaps and holes that we will try to fill, but we have to really start from the top. So I feel like it is definitely getting a lot better right now. People are, yeah, they are able to be vulnerable knowing that it's going to be a safe space. So that was very interesting. Yeah. And then, so layer 2, right? So layer 2 is conflict, right? But Lencioni always says this, you must go through every layer one by one, because if the trust is not established, you cannot enter the layer 2, which is conflict. So what he means by conflict here is when there's no trust, there's no real debate. I think it's a very corporate thing where sometimes when your boss or someone says something, you actually don't feel it's a good idea, but you don't say anything because why? I don't want to fight with you lah. You do what you want lah. I just follow only lah. Right? And then when it goes down the shits, everyone's like pointing fingers at each other, and there's no conflict. So what Lencioni actually reveals is when there is conflict in the boardroom in your teams is good. It's good. Avoidance of conflict just shows that people don't trust each other and people are just avoiding. Like they just want to, okay, it's a meeting, right? Okay, CJ, talk already. I don't want to argue with him. I just want to listen to what he wants me to do. And I just want to get out of here. Does that sound like a functional or dysfunctional team? So yes. Lencioni breaks it down very interesting. So what he wrote down is like, everyone agrees in the meeting, nothing gets resolved. Everyone's like a respectful team, a silent team. Yeah. Right? Having real conflict means people say the hard things before it becomes a real problem.
Yeah, I think what really had helped Move to go this far and come this far, 20 branches, 21 today, 21 branches. And over the last 6 years, scaling a business that's never been able to scale, a premium personal training studio model, is because earlier days set the precedence of how things were going to go, right? So earlier days means when there were just a bunch of us, 12 of us, 15 of us, I think we were very confrontational. All right, yeah, we were. In the group chat. People saying, hey, look, you don't confront people in public, you praise them in public, but then put them aside if you want to confront them. Yes and no. And the reason why is because, when you have a debate, more like, instead of confront, right? Confront is only when someone is just really unethical and all that stuff, right? Miss that deadline, don't even say anything. But if you debate, right? Yeah, you can see it as a debate. And I really love how we were quite open to debates, a lot more feisty back in the days. Now it's a bit more toned down, right? We've passed that startup period where we're scrappy, we were hood, we're radical, right? No filter. So now we have, people from all walks of life and background. Yep. So, we are a bit more mature as well. So, we just know that, hey, look, we're still debating. And we all know when to say, hey, look, okay, I agree. You have a better point of view. And I think it takes maturity to do that. Right?
Yeah, I mean, we conflict, we debate not to be right.
Yeah,
we have conflict and debate to find what is the best possible way moving forward.
Yeah.
So if you come into a room and conflict to be right, that means dysfunction, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then so again, trust, conflict. So now layer 3, commitment. Without trust, without conflict, there is no buy-in. So it specifically states that people will half execute and they will wait for the plan to fail, or they're just like, okay lah, my boss tell me to do lah. It's not the fact that they have an execution problem, it's because they have a commitment problem. And it starts with first of all, I need to trust you. I need to trust that, okay, you are the right man for the job, or what you say is I can trust. And I also need to trust that you'll be able to also say that if you can't do it, right? And then the conflict part is also to debate, okay? Debate to find the best way moving forward. Because the interesting thing about what he says is, in the commitment part, it doesn't matter if the person does not believe that this will work. But if they have the buy-in, they will just do it. They will just do it. So it's very, very interesting what he says. Like for example, at Move, everyone has a certain way of doing things. We all have a different perspective of what humanity and breakthrough looks like. I have a very different perspective on what efficiency and performance looks like compared to other people. But we all have the same North Star, the same goal. So as long as we conflict, we do what we need to do, most of the time before we execute something, we are all aligned. And being aligned doesn't mean that we have to agree with everything. But we are all bought in.
Yes, the buy-in is so important. The buy-in allows people to just go all out without even being so calculative, right?
Oh, yes.
Right. Back in the days, I had, nightmares working with people that they were just so calculative. And I would say partially I didn't sell the vision well enough. I didn't sell the why behind it good enough that people did not know where it was going. And then you get things like, oh, okay, where do I get paid for this? Do I get paid for that extra thing that I do? Now, buy-in is important, but sometimes I feel like since we are on a team and we know the mission and the goal very well, I think getting people to have to buy in, it should only be the thing that we do up until a certain point. Because if we constantly have to get people to buy in every single time, every single new project, that is still going to steer us towards the common outcome that we all strive for. It's very tiring.
I feel like, I think it can happen in stages when they are bought in for the first project, and wins, they will kind of automatically go to the next one. Because the thing is, what Lencioni says, right? You establish trust, you've established trust, and then there is conflict. And this goes across for every single project or whatever that you do. So it will be like kind of like a way of life. So it's like family, right? You can fight with your mom in the morning, but you'll have lunch and dinner with her on the same day.
And fight again in the morning.
Yeah, and then fight again in the morning, right? So Lencioni is kind of like talking about, I think what Lencioni is trying to talk about dysfunction of the team is you need to allow the dysfunction to happen to have a functional team. The problem is most people want only a functional team. They do not want to address the dysfunctions. Then they become dysfunctional. Oh, that was very woody. But you understand what I'm trying to say, right?
Yes.
And this, okay, so this comes to layer 4. Layer 4 to me is very interesting because I feel like it's the crux of it. But to get to layer 4, you need to go through the trust, the conflict, the commitment. So layer 4 is accountability. When there is no buy-in, there is no commitment, there's no accountability. Or not that accountability that you're thinking, okay? Because what he says is like, you can't hold someone accountable to a plan that they never believed in. You can't hold someone accountable for or something that the boss decide, everyone just waiting for the boss to tell them or to execute, And what happens? In that accountability part, the boss actually becomes the bottleneck, right? So I know what you're going to ask me and I'm just going to answer you straight. So it was very familiar for me because I was that bottleneck at that time, right? General manager of Move, that time we were 10, 12 branches already. And I became the bottleneck because I wanted to do everything myself. I wanted to keep myself accountable only because I personally thought that only I can do it better, right? I did not get enough buy-in myself that my team is committed to the cause. So what happened was I became the bottleneck. When I went through all that, now we've created management council and everything. So we have a lot of buy-in. And not only just the buy-in, right? Everyone actually has their own level of accountability because everyone's bought into the goal and the North Star. So that means when you're buying, you die also, you must make it work, Right? Like, let's say one day, me, CJ and I, we join High Rocks or whatever. Like, bro, we're going to hit 1 hour, 20 minutes, right? Guess what? We've bought into the goal. And if he catches me eating popcorn and sitting down on my ass, not training, guess what? He's going to keep me very, very accountable. Verbally.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I'll say accountability is really what helps everyone grow. And this is the one thing that we, in the fitness industry, I think coaches want to work and earn good living, but then they don't want to be held accountable, right? Therefore, freelancing is something that a lot of people turn to because I don't want to be held accountable. I'm my own boss. I do whatever I want. If I do it, I do it. If I don't, I don't. That also hinders the growth of someone. And then, bringing back to, as an organization, this is something where a lot of coaches come from freelancing background. They want to work with us and they probably would find a bit of difficulty to be held accountable towards certain tasks, certain metrics and all that stuff. So then what we need to do is, always start from the very bottom, right? Trust, conflict, commitment. Then they feel like, hey, look, I'm okay to be held accountable.
Yep.
Which is cool because, this is what we say to our clients. It finally makes sense for my own self.
Yes. 100%.
Right?
100%. And then we come to layer 5, which is everyone's wet dream, results, right? Because all of this is not going to matter if there are no results. So Lencioni mentions that this is where most operators feel the pain, like, missed targets, good people leaving, training not sticking. So they try to hire better and then they are actually rotating their hires. They try to tighten SOP and then they realize, nothing changes, right? Because they're trying to change the what's written on the book, what's written on SOP. They're trying to change the structure, but they're not actually changing the people, right? So if you got the trust and the conflict done, the commitment part done, and the accountability, guess what? By hook or by crook, you are gonna get the results because you have a team that I trust you, you trust me. We have a team that will conflict if they don't feel like that's the best way moving forward. And you want that, right? Because you want conflict, not because to conflict like I'm right, conflict to find the best way moving forward. Then you want people who are committed, totally bought into the cause. Because guess what? When someone's totally bought in, you will see less excuses. Organically, you'll see less excuses, less but I'm on holiday, I can't take the call, it's not important enough, or I've done my work already, I'm clocking out, or yeah, hey, am I getting paid for this? Right? So yeah, these kind of things, right? And then the accountability and the results will just organically come in. And I feel like, interesting enough, at Move, we are 8-figure revenue company right now. We are quite high performing. We've maintained everything. But here's the interesting thing: we don't actually push our people the way with whips and whatever. We try to, as much as we can, we're not perfect. We try to manage as much of the dysfunctions as possible to get to the results.
I think this framework here is something that will give us assurance as a company, Move, and Advantage, which is an incubation venture building company, and where we're not heading towards the direction of a typical corporate, right? Where everything is very peaceful on the surface, but down the bottom is a lot of backstabbing or people not courageous enough to speak up, but then courageous enough to speak behind someone's back, right?
Yeah.
And then I would say, because like the co-founder Justin is always very, very anti-corporate way of doing things. And I like how things are, for the last 6 years, and I really don't want it to turn it any other way. So this framework here is really something that will prevent us from becoming the next corporation, because as the team is getting bigger, as we are having now 100 plus coaches, and soon we're going to have 50 HQ team members when we have 500 branches or 300 branches to serve. Yeah, so the last thing I want is turn out to be another,
massive dysfunctional
Then you have a
corporation.
CEO going in and out, trying to figure out how to push for more results when trust, conflict, commitment, accountability weren't there.
Sounds like the last podcast we did. CEOs on rotation.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Right. So yeah, for CEO who looking to take charge or go into a company to turn things around or break through revenues, profits, perhaps this is a framework you can use. You can just go down to the ground, spend time with the people, and just hear out what's going on, right? Because everything you see through reports and your direct superior, giving you a call, email, or updates might not always reflect what's really going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I would really highly recommend to read this book. It's very interesting because it's done in a story format. And then the last, if I remember correctly, the last 20, 30 pages, it's like a mini kind of workbook. You can actually do a alignment test, assessment test with your team as well to see where, and I think that's where Jason got the test form as well. Yeah.
And I think this test here that we did, it's not going to be something that you expect. That's for sure. Given that your team has a certain level of transparency, right? Or you can make it anonymous, right? Then just look at the results, and then you can truly reflect and see how you can actually turn things around, or try to see how you can break through. Because at the end of the day, I would say the culture is the root of is root of everything.
Yeah.
Right. And then the fruits are the results, the revenue. So there's no point to think, oh, do we chase results or chase culture? You do both, because you do culture really well so that you can have good fruit at the top.
Yeah. And also if you do read the book and you do the assessment, be very, very honest with yourself. Like earlier, CJ mentioned that I scored it pretty low, right? It's not to say that, oh, that's it, we're done for, it's crap. It's really just a lot of gaps that you can really focus on, and that's what we're doing. We're working on it. We're trying to get HQ members to really be more vulnerable with each other, more trusting, empowering more people to do more work, and also getting them to create their own accountability systems and so on and so forth. So if you do read the book and you do an assessment, just come. I think maybe preempt your people as well. Come from a lens that, hey guys, we're not here to see what's wrong or how koyak we are or how bad it is. It's just a chance for everyone to be very, very honest and and yeah, try to solve the gaps. It's never going to be perfect, right? But it's good. It's ongoing improvement.
Yeah. It's going to be hard conversations potentially.
Yes.
That you would have to have with a few people. It's better now than later, right? The hard now or hard later. I would choose hard now any day, because when things are still, you're still together, you don't have people throwing you resignation letter altogether. Do it now.
I think to sum it up before we end this, the people who should read this book is, if you every time you step into your office, or you meet your team, or in the boardroom, you feel like everyone's just agreeing with me, there's not a lot of conversation, there's not a lot of buy-in, people don't really trust me, or they're putting a facade, or everyone's too nice, I don't know how to move my team forward, I don't know how to get them to perform better, this is really the book for you, because it really goes down to the essence of why the team is not moving. And if you can handle all 5 dysfunctions, depending on what stage you're in, it's going to be very, very fruitful.
All right, where can they find the quiz?
I think it's actually behind the book.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually behind the book. But I would suggest, you can even find it online. It's everywhere. But read the book first to get some context.
Right.
Then you understand how the assessment works.
Yes, so don't just throw the quiz out there to your team. Make them read the book first as well, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
That would be good. Then they understand some context from there.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but you read it first, then you decide. Yeah.
All right. Until then, comment below what you want us to cover next, and also subscribe, share this with a friend that you hope that they can also benefit from this. Okay, bye.